Welcome to the Quest for Meaning podcast, where we embark on a journey to answer one of life's biggest questions. What is the meaning of it all? Because when you find meaning, you find happiness. I'm your host, Alistair Haberfield. Join me as we dive deep into the stories, practices, and philosophies that illuminate your path to a more meaningful life. I crashed and burned and was bedridden because of my pursuit for purpose. Can you crash and burn whilst you're on your meaning journey? You shouldn't, but if you force yourself rather than flow, you can. Ideally, you're fueled from within. Now, in the last episode, we talked about 4 pillars of meaning: power, passion, purpose, and partnerships. And if you're not present in all of them, then it can lead to burnout. And so in today's episode, I'm going to talk about how I burn out in my pursuit for purpose. And hopefully, after this episode, you'll start to assess your life and see where maybe you're giving a bit too much in a certain direction and how you can move back into that center with a balance. A few years ago, I had an Akashic records reading. For those of you that don't know what it is, basically someone meditates and accesses your book of life, basically your soul's life across the eons or the universe. And I had a lot that came from that. There was this one theme that came through multiple past lives. So there was one where I was a blacksmith. There was a war, but I wasn't part of that war. I was making swords, etc. From this story and other stories, the key theme that came through was power versus force. You can stand in your authentic power without forcing things. And over the past year, I forced things. I forced things in the name of purpose. Taking it back a step, I'm very good at getting things done when I need to. I have the motivation, the drive, the mental focus. I can get into flow state. I know how to do that. So it's never been an issue for me, and I'm quite grateful for that. But what it does mean is that I can get so myopic on something and keep going and going and going and finding like new ways to force it rather than doing the key thing that my heart knows it needs to do, an inspirational burst for like half an hour and then not doing work for the rest of the day, for example. I would always feel like I had to force more work. I had to do more. And so this was my brain kicking in and saying, no, you haven't worked enough today. You need to do more work. Rather than letting my heart lead and seeing that everything I did with my heart created a good outcome, and that these things I was forcing wasn't actually getting me anywhere. It was just getting me more burnt out. And so I did this for quite a few months, at least half the year. I had no other passion, so I wouldn't really do anything creative by myself or just do something for the sake of doing. It would be, I always had to have purpose. And it was toxic. I would just have no fun. And it just drained me. So that was one part of it. In the passion realm, in power, yeah, it drained me. Like I was not sleeping right. I didn't have the balance in my life of health, relationships. I was just so myopic on purpose that it ultimately just zapped my power. And that ultimately led to me burning out and just being in bed in Marrakesh. Like a sickness bug from ice, and I couldn't eat for 2 days, and I was completely bedridden and exhausted. And it was only at that point that I realized what the hell I had been doing. Another thing that had happened was my partnerships were suffering. I'd isolated myself because I was traveling. I didn't make the effort to connect with people virtually or even in person. I was like, what's the point in connecting with someone I'm meeting? I'm here for a few months. What's the point in connecting with someone they're not going to help my purpose? Like, whatever. It hindered my relationship with my partner as well because we weren't spending quality time together. And if we were, it was like always about purpose, or purpose was always thrown in. And there was no balance whatsoever. So passion was struggling, partnerships were struggling, and then ultimately my power suffered. Another thing I've been doing at the time was related to this podcast is I was focused on schedule and putting out an episode every week. And then I just stopped. I was unnecessarily trying to force things. Again, it's just like, no, your heart can take over. Trust your heart and then bring your brain in to merge into coherence. You don't need to lead with your mind or your brain. Your heart knows. So I was laid in bed for 2 days and I basically just had a conversation with ChatGPT after the worst of it, knocked out for at least a day and a half. But I plugged in all my previous health data, gut health checks, blood tests, history and asthma as a kid, all these things. And I realized, based on what it said, and I agreed with it, my nervous system had been dysregulated for years and I hadn't recognized it. And I've been highly functioning in that state and steadily declining. And then I just hit burnout. It's sad to think I did that. And coming back to what I said before, this power versus force, you don't need to force things. So now I find myself back in the UK, taking a pause. My relationship on pause. My friendships on pause, basically. I'm here alone. A lot of my friends around. My other friends on a different time zone, finding it hard to hang out. And I am still working on my purpose. I'm focusing on building the community behind the scenes, but in a way that's anchored in power and passion. And I'm leading with power. I'm going to the gym every morning. I'm meditating every morning. I'm pulling oracle cards every morning. And I'm slowly waking my nervous system up every day. And so I don't start work on my purpose until midday. And I'm fine with that. And I only maybe do a few hours work a day. And that's fine. I'm following my heart more. I'm acting on that inspiration. But I'm not forcing. And I'm also focused on the root cause of my health issues, which I realized basically I am still thinking I'm the child I once was who struggled with asthma in a cold room, who couldn't breathe into the diaphragm and could only, if struggle into the chest. Like I used to have chest infections, everything. And so I'm fixing that root problem basically by just breathing into my diaphragm again and I'm regulating my nervous system. And it feels great to just come back to that power. And then I've done that for a few weeks now and I'm seeing the progress and how I feel. And yes, my Garmin tells me I'm heading in the right direction, so does ChatGPT, but I feel it. And I feel it so much more now that I'm bringing passion in again. I'm doing things for the sake of doing. Like I'm drawing, I'm even doing a podcast episode again. Like I didn't plan this today. I just acted on it. So what I found is that you have to balance these things. And yes, depending on any moment in time, you might need one more than the other. But if there's not a broad balance between power, passion, purpose, and partnerships, then things are going to suffer. And I plan to travel back to Vancouver next on my journey in January to reconnect with my most authentic partnerships that I've made. They've seen me in my most authentic self and they've made friends with me and that version of myself. I'm going back there for probably at least 6 months. So you see how I'm basically rebuilding from the ground up. I'm rebuilding my power, my passion, my partnerships. and then purpose. Then I expect the purpose to take off. And that's not, I don't invest in my purpose every day, but it's like, no, my purpose won't be propelled into the future. I won't be able to achieve this big purpose or what I'm here to do if I'm not anchored in power, passion, and partnership. So the one thing I want you to take away from today is that we need balance in life. And on my meaning journey, I realized that that's anchored in power, passion, purpose, and partnership, with the balance in the middle being present. I'm present in all of them. And that allows me to go forward and live the life I want to live. And maybe you resonate with those pillars, maybe you don't, make your own, but the key thing is have balance. Otherwise you'll burn out and end up in bed. You don't want to do that. No one wants that. But if you are in that space now, and if you are burnt out, maybe this will help you get through it. Have faith. You'll find the strength again. You'll find the power. And you'll move back into balance. Power over force. Trust that you're on the right track. And you don't need to force anything in your life. This has been another step in the quest for meaning. If you're on this journey too, make sure to follow along and share this episode with someone walking their own path. You can explore more at ourquestformeaning.com. This is your quest. Stay curious, be brave, and keep seeking meaning.